In the last stream, we were working on upgrading our storage system by adding in our first of probably many draw controllers, which is right about here, connecting that up with multiple framed drawers, which we decorated using our framing table over here. And so now things like diamonds, coal, and redstone are no longer clogging up all of the space in our diamond chests here, giving us a fair bit more space for storage as we move forward. We also, I guess somewhat more importantly, unlocked a new age of the questline here by unlocking aluminum. That was this quest right here, and that unlocked this whole next section of the quest book, starting over here, ideally, with production research, tier 3 research. Now, I think what I'm going to work on in today's stream is probably upgrading and expanding our ore processing capabilities, because right now we have these two little rudimentary clusters that take ores, run them through the pulverizer into 2.5x the number of dusts, and then smelt them in these furnaces that are being powered by the external heater into ingots. And so right now we are effectively getting 2.5x ore processing, but as I mentioned at the end of the last episode, we don't have that much aluminum. Our aluminum, I believe, is actually just here, and the chunk only has about 700 aluminum in it. However, if we're going to make a lot of production research, we need a lot of aluminum, and so ideally we want to increase the amount of aluminum that we get for every ore that we process, and of course, thanks to the way the pack maker has set this pack up, we can actually get a staggering amount of ingots per ore if we work our way through this ore processing chain. We're of course not going to be able to get to the end today because we don't have access to utility or chemical research, but I'm hopeful that if things work out correctly and if we can get a little bit of production research up and running, we might be able to get a 10x ore processing system set up by the end of the episode. So before I do start with that, I have made a few changes to the base between streams. I've gone ahead and built another little frame here. This is going to be our ore processing platform. I decided to go on the bigger side in general for this, simply due to the fact that I'm not entirely certain how much space the ore processing is going to take up. The thing we set up today is probably going to be quite small, and it's probably going to make this whole platform look ludicrously big, because it's basically going to be an induction smelter, a pulverizer, and a redstone furnace. But later on down the line here, things like the crushing multi-block from immersive engineering are quite big, and the arc furnace is very large. It's like a 5x5x5 multi-block structure, and we're going to need like one of these for each ore, and then one of these for each ore, and then one induction smelter, one pulverizer, and one redstone furnace. So eventually, I think this platform could potentially end up being too small, but for the time being, I think it should get the job done. What I've also gone ahead and done is moved our kind of quote-unquote good power infrastructure over here as well. And I've kind of redesigned it a little bit, because what I'm thinking we're going to do today is potentially look at unlocking the LV conduits, and by potentially look at, I mean let's do it right now. If we go and grab, let's say, a stack of mechanics and a stack of logistics, we should be able to unlock these LV energy conduits, which essentially work in the same way as the item conduits, but they move power instead of items. And so my thought process here is that hopefully these are not too expensive. They are not. It requires one LV wire relay, one LV wire connector, and a copper. You get 4 of these LV energy conduits. My thought process is that we can connect these like this, and then much like we've done with the item conduits, we can then kind of run these under the treated wood and over to wherever our machines end up going. And again, much like with the item conduits, we can use the conduit facades to just cover up the conduit and make it look that little bit nicer and just a little bit more flush. So if I do this and this, we can get a conduit facade that looks like this treated wood, and then we can right click it there and it just hides it nicely. The actual setup here is the exact same. We have a fluid pump. Both of the left and right are set to output. This isn't necessary. I just like that it's symmetrical. You could just do this on one side. I like the fact that we got it on both sides, because right now we only have the one boiler in the middle here. And of course, that does need to receive coal coke. And so what I've gone ahead and done is I have continued our universal item conduit, which was here, all the way along, under, round, up, and to here. Right now, there is no coal coke in the boiler. However, if we go ahead and shift left click and set this to insert and to blank, that should start to receive coal coke from our coal coke reserves. Fantastic. At which point we can quickly go ahead and cover up this conduit here. other than the platform here, I have also made a few changes to the rail network underground. So the first big change that I've made here is that I have gotten rid of the copper and iron stations, because my plan going forward is actually going to be to have all of the ores get dropped off at the same station. So that is going to be this station right here. Over here, our cart is currently stood still, but that's on purpose. So right here, I've made an ore drop-off station, and all of the ores are going to be taken out of this cart. And my thought process here is that we can actually have all of the ores dropped directly into a draw controller. If we do that, and actually I said I don't know if we have enough nether quartz in here. We don't. We have one and we need two. I think that shouldn't be a problem, because if I'm not mistaken, I think we do have a rogue chest that used to be by a drill that has a little bit of quartz in it. We do. 23 nether quartz. Nice. We should definitely start looking for some more nether quartz just in case we do run out of what we have in the not-so-distant future. But for the time being, let's go ahead and craft up another draw controller. My thought here being that as we move forward, we're going to get a lot of ores. You know, we're going to start to loop in things like nickel and lead and gold and silver and all of the ores that we have available to us in the game. And if we just put down one chest underneath this, things could start to clog up quite quickly, especially because we're going to take what comes from this cart and then send it to multiple different processing lines up on the surface. And so instead, what I thought we could do is, if we were to put a draw controller here, the cart hopper is going to feed directly into that draw controller. And then what we can do is we can just grab a few more storage drawers. It doesn't really matter too much what these look like, I guess. We will probably end up changing these in the future. For now, I'm just going to make them out of spruce because we have a staggering amount of spruce wood. I did do a bit more spruce tree farming between episodes. But if we take these and we put them, you know, maybe in the wall like this, we can then use some trim, which we might not have in the system. We got a little bit here, but let's make some more trim real quick. Again, I'm going to make spruce trim just because we have a lot of spruce wood available to us. And he says that without having any spruce planks ready. That is fine. Let's get just a bunch of spruce trim, and then we can just run all of that spruce trim from the draw controller, which is down here, up, around, and to the bottom of the storage drawers. And that's going to connect those up to the draw controller, and in turn, that's going to allow the cart hopper to put things into this drawer, but it's also going to allow this item conduit to extract from that draw controller up to the surface to wherever we end up processing the ores. Once we've got all of these down, one thing people did point out that you can do is you can right-click on the draw controller with the key, and that will lock all of the drawers automatically. And then what we're going to do from there is we're going to get this cart going again. The second change that I've made is over here. This is our copper pickup, and I've just added a bit of a loop here, and over here is aluminum. So up there is the iron chest that we placed down in the last episode. The drill for this is just right above here. This is the drill that's mining all of the aluminum and all of the copper. Of course, that gets fed down. The station here is just the same. This one's called aluminum pickup. And so now the cart just goes around there over to here, and you'll see that this does have aluminum and copper inside of it. And so if we get this going, it should stop here, and it's going to just keep going, I think, because at the moment, there are no drawers for these to go into. But if we do this, we should start to see these drawers getting filled up with all of the copper and aluminum. And then ideally, once that is empty, of course, I do need to reconfigure the cart hopper here. Let me do this and say no activity, and it's going to go. Cool. So everything should get dropped off here, which is perfect. For now, I'm just going to do something like this to cover that up. Also, real quick, let me make sure that I set this item conduit up correctly. I'm going to run that all the way to there, and then we're going to set that to extract, always active. And we'll figure out the rest up on the surface, but I think that's basically all of the changes I've made to the rail network. Real quick as well, I guess I should also take the iron ore that we have in staggeringly large amounts out of the system and drop that into one of these drawers as well. Right now, I don't think we're actively getting any more iron ore because I think our iron ore drill is just completely depleted on iron. But eventually we will, of course, set up a new drill and hook that up as well because we are going to need more iron. And when that time comes, we're going to want to be able to drop that iron off. Anyway, now that that's taken care of, let's head back up to the surface and let's see if we can't get these ores processed. So, in the last stream, we did unlock the fluxed anodizers here. And so the flux anodizers are going to allow us to double ores in the redstone furnace. Right now, we don't have a redstone furnace. Thankfully, these are pretty straightforward to make. We are going to need a few machine frames today. I think that's fine. We've got quite a lot of treated wood, because I've been using it as a building material. Machine casings are easy enough to make, and I did bulk make steel components previously, although we are down to our last couple here. They're not too difficult to make either. I am going to steal the external heaters that we have over here, because the idea is that these are not going to be really of any use after we get our new ore processing up and running, and I'm somewhat hopeful that the 2000 iron and 2000 copper that we currently have backed up in these drawers here should be enough to get us through until we have our new ore processing up and running. And so this is a redstone furnace done, and then if we want to make the flux anodizer here, we need a bronze gear, which I think we can do. We also need 2 Invar plates, which we can do with just Invar. Annoyingly, we can't use the engineer's hammer here. That is unfortunate. We do have enough Invar to make it, though, so I'll do this, and at that point, I think it's just the conductance core we're missing. That does require Electrum, which we have, and boom, nice. So if we put that into our redstone furnace, like this. The good thing about the thermal expansion machine is that when you pick them up, they do retain their augments, so we can move them all as one. That's perfect. I'm also going to go ahead and take this pulverizer here, but just these two combined already gives us 5x ore processing. If we want to take it one step further, we do need to unlock the induction smelter. Not only do we have to unlock it, which is over here, which is a little expensive, does require 16 production research. In order to actually use it as an ore processing system, we also have to unlock this research over here. So we're going to need quite a lot of logistics. We need 24 x8 packs, and we're also going to need 32 of the production research. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to dump some of the junk out of my inventory back into the system, and we should probably look at getting another researcher up and running. Now, people have pointed out in the YouTube comments that I keep using this recipe down here to make the multi-block capsule base. However, we can use this recipe up here that takes a machine controller and then 3 tiny item inputs and 1 tiny item output. The reason that we have these items is that these are the items that you make the burner researcher out of. So basically, when you tear down a burner researcher, you can then kind of recycle that back into a multi-block capsule base, which you can then use to make another standard researcher, another non-burner electric researcher, as it were. So let me quickly go get some more steel plates, and let's get our 3rd researcher down next to our pre-existing 2. And boom, there we go. We have our 3rd researcher down. This guy, of course, going to be responsible for that production research. Over here, we are going to stick, at least for the time being, with the LVY connectors, although I should check real quick. What is the power usage here? It's 100 FE per tick, which is completely fine. If we do something like this, and go ahead and connect that up, hopefully to our pre-existing connector over there, fantastic. It does mean that we're not going to be able to speed this up with speed upgrades, because once we do, it's going to start using more than 100 redstone flux per tick, and as of right now, the LVY connector here can only do 100 RF per tick. I think we could get around that by putting another connector on, like that, and then connecting that up as well to the network if we have power for that, but again, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So now, what we need to do is probably look at setting up this redstone furnace and pulverizer, because we do actually want to start processing a little bit of the aluminum through our 5x system to get enough aluminum to make the 32 production research required to unlock the induction smelting, which is going to take us to 10x ore processing. So what I am going to do here, I'm going to make a few more framed drawers. I do want the standard frame drawers here. We're going to take 1 for iron, 1 for copper, and 1 for aluminum. And then over in here, I think we'll do the exact same thing we did previously, where we'll just take some marble tile and use that as our sole decoration for the drawer here. And then over out here, we're going to put these down as kind of the final outputs for the aluminum, the iron, and the copper. For now, I'm going to put the first one of these down, maybe right here. Let me just quickly check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm not quite sure how wide I've made this. I think it's like 35 blocks wide. We can always shimmy some things if we need to in the future. But ideally, we're going to have a redstone furnace that pumps directly into that framed drawer. Before that, we're going to have a pulverizer. And then before that, we'll have the induction smelter. So now, all we need to do is kind of just hook this up. We need to run the energy conduit from here all the way around to that. And then, at least for the time being, I'm just going to go and grab maybe like a stack of aluminum and throw that manually into the pulverizer. Probably less than a stack, maybe. Although what we can do, actually, that I've not been doing, that the people in the Twitch chat have been screaming at me to do for a little while now, is we can use the crafting calculator here. So as I showed right at the start of the pack, you can use the crafting calculator to figure out how many of a base resource you're going to need to make a given number of a specific crafting recipe. For example, if we go ahead and teach the calculator how to make production research by just clicking on move items here and then clicking save, now when I drag this in and I say that I want to make 32 of these, it tells me something that's not too difficult to understand, that we need 32 flux electrum, 32 redstone engineering blocks, and 32 aluminum widgets. But if we go ahead and also teach it how to make the aluminum widgets, again, you just press R and then move items and save. Now it's giving me a more thorough breakdown of what we need. We can take it further though. We can teach it that 2 aluminum ingots equals 1 aluminum gear. Save. We can also go ahead and teach it that the aluminum structural arm here is made from aluminum scaffolding, which is fine. And then we can teach it the aluminum scaffolding here is made from aluminum ingots and aluminum rods. We can then teach it that the aluminum rods are made from aluminum. Again, I think we're going to use the metal press to try and maximize our efficiency. And then finally, we can also teach it that aluminum wire is made with aluminum ingots. Save. And in doing so here, we get a number. We get the number of 184 plus 64. I'm not quite sure why those come up as different stacks. Like, I don't know why there's 2 different aluminums on there, but together that's 248 aluminum, which is probably the amount that we need. We can also do this, of course, for the flux electrum. We can do this, although that's not particularly useful. And we could do something like this and save. And we get a full breakdown here of what we need. We need 64 iron, we need 128 redstone, we need 16 copper, 32 electrum, and then the aforementioned 248 aluminum. And so if we do 248 divided by 5, that is just shy of 50. And so yeah, we need about a stack of aluminum. If we process a full stack of aluminum, that's going to get us just a little bit more than what we need to make 32 production research. And with that 32 production research, we can then hopefully unlock 10x ore processing. So real quick, let me see if I can't make some more energy conduits here, and let's see if we can't run them over to the pulverizer and redstone furnace. For that, we need just a lot more of the LV connectors of both kinds, right? Which should be fine. These are made with stone and copper. That is easy enough. I'll make quite a lot of these. We do have more stone, I believe, over by our marble processing setup, and then LV wire connectors are the same again, but just with even more stone and even more copper. Once we have a load of those, we can then do this, and I was going to just shift click that in. Of course, all of our copper is tied up in this drawer over here. Let's try that one more time. Boom, and boom. Over a stack is more than enough. And so back over here, let's do something not like this. We could do this, but then we'd have to make a lot of conduit facades, which is doable, but is a much more of a pain than just running this 1 block further down. Like this, at which point we can go here, here, and then down, and of course all the way around. Unlike with the item conduits, I don't think that we have to specify inputs and outputs here. You can do. Of course, make sure you shift and scroll to get to the right mode on the Yetta wrench. You can configure the input and output, but by default, extract is set to always active and insert is set as well. And so these will just work when you place them down. So let's do this and this and this. And now we should see that both of these are full on power, including the new redstone furnace. It's getting there. And so now if we throw some aluminum in here, that's going to get processed. We want to set the left to input. Eventually we're going to have an induction smelter here, and the right to output like this, making sure that we set it to orange so we get both of the outputs. And then in here, we're going to set the left to input and the right output with auto input enabled. And that should pull all of the aluminum dirty dust, and using the flux anodizer augment should turn 1 dust into 2 aluminum. It does. Nice. And so that is going to slowly but surely process away there. Right now, we're not using much power here. And so if we really wanted to, we could look at taking a couple of those speed augments that we made in the last stream and moving those over to make this just that little bit faster. Right now, I do think that neither of these have hardened upgrade kits. They don't. Interesting. So the pulverizer can just take the augment because it doesn't have one in it currently, but the redstone furnace does already have an augment. So if we want to put in a speed augment in there, we are going to have to get a hardened upgrade kit for this. That's fine. Let me quickly go make some more Invar, and we'll see about upgrading both of those with hardened upgrade kits. Actually, never mind. We have Invar ready to go. I didn't know we had so much stored away there. That is fine. Let's do hopefully 2 of these. Beautiful. And then 2 of these, 1 and 2. That's going to just default make both of these faster, but it's also going to give us space for even more of these reception coil augments. All right, so not too long later, the aluminum is done. We've got 316 aluminum in this drawer here. While that was processing, I have dug out some holes over here for metal presses. I've also gathered the items to make 3 more metal presses here. So they are going to go down 1 like that, 2 like that, and 3 like that. Of course, if we grab our engineer's hammer, we can then right-click here, here, and here to make all of that work. So we need a few more molds here. We need the gear mold, we need the rod mold, and we need another wire mold. So all of those are made in the same way. They're all a bunch of steel plates. I did make a bunch of steel plates just a moment ago. And so back over here, we do need to get our mold cast, which we did have, but I think I lost it when I moved the table, because if you break the table with the blueprint in it, you just lose the blueprint, which is unfortunate. But if we do this, we should be able to do this, I guess, and get 1. Hold on. There we go. That is not right. Oh, it's the cutters, not the hammer. That is my bad. The cutters we do have from the last time we did this. Put that back in. We need the gear, we need the rod, and we need the wire. Nice. We'll put the rest of those steel plates away for now. And over here, what we're going to do, we can do gear here, we can do wire here, and we can do rod here, like that. The idea here is that we're going to go ahead and grab a few more storage drawers, 3 more to be specific, of course. We're going to have 1 of those for the aluminum gears, like this, 1 for the aluminum wires, like this, and 1 for the aluminum rods, like this. Then, of course, all of these are going to get downgrades, and they're all going to get locked, and they're also all going to get the redstone upgrade to, actually, we talked about this, they don't need downgrades, right? They're all going to get redstone upgrades only, and we're going to cook them up with redstone conduits to make sure in the future, once we have aluminum automated, that we don't waste too much aluminum on backing up on resources. But the idea here is that we can take some of these. Let's drop, say, 2 here. That should, oh, of course, and I do need to give these power. Let me quickly get some more LV connectors and make that happen. All right, once we've got an extra post down and these are all connected up to power, we can drop 2 aluminum here. That's going to make the aluminum gear. We can drop 1 here. That should just make some of the wiring. And then we can drop 1 here, and that's going to make our first rod. Nice. So we can then go ahead and lock all of these to make sure they're good for the future. The aluminum gears and the aluminum wire can kind of just go straight into the workbench. So over here, by the way, we've moved the magma crucible and the fluid transposer. Of course, we're going to send redstone here. That's going to get turned into destabilized redstone. In fact, let me go ahead and grab maybe a stack of that, throw it in there. And then over here, we're going to put electro. Of course, we're going to have to automate that and send that to here. Again, the induction smelter is going to help with that, and that's going to make the fluxed electrum. The fluxed electrum is then going to go straight from here over and into the researcher. Here, extract, always active. That's all good. Next to that, we have another crafter. This crafter is going to make the redstone engineering blocks. So for that, we need iron, redstone, and copper, all of which we have in somewhat abundance. Iron we've got here. Redstone is a little light. We might have to get some more of that, but for the most part, it should be fine. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Copper in the middle, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 redstone like that. Perfect. As per usual, I am going to limit this a little bit. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that, just so we don't have too much redstone and iron backing up in here, but then we can do this, this, and this. That's going to start getting crafted. Boom, we'll put this here. We'll make sure that there is not connected, like that. You're going to be set to insert, and you over here are going to be set to extract, always active. Perfect. We'll probably end up upgrading this to a sequential fabricator, maybe all of these to sequential fabricators at some point in the not-so-distant future, because right now they are somewhat slow, but it really depends on whether or not they're faster than the researcher. If they're faster than the researcher, then everything's fine. If they become slower than the researcher, if these become the bottleneck, then we can look at upgrading them. And then over here, this is the final one, and definitely the most tricky. This is where we're going to put together the aluminum widget, right? So for that, we need aluminum gears, easy enough. Put you straight in the middle, like that. We need aluminum wire, also easy enough. That's going to go here, 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 and here, like that. The tricky part here is, or the slightly more tricky part, I should say, it's not really too difficult, is the aluminum structural arm. For that, we need to take our aluminum rods that are here, and we need to craft those like this with aluminum ingots, like that. So again, what we'll do here is we'll do something like this to make sure that we don't end up sending too much around here. This is going to craft aluminum ingots, 3 of them, with aluminum rods, again, ideally 3 of them, into the aluminum scaffolding. Once the aluminum scaffolding is made, we're then going to take that, pump it up and around into the top crafter here. So extract, always active, and then insert up here. And then up here, the scaffolding just needs to be crafted. Like this. Nope, that's a stair. The scaffolding needs to be crafted. Oh, it's the same recipe, but the other way around. It's like this. Perfect. Okay. Once again, we will do as much dirt as we possibly can in here to really clog up those arteries, and then boom, and boom. That's going to work, and then that, of course, is going to get extracted around again with just a few more item conduits into this final crafter, that being this one here. Like this. We're going to say extract, always active, and insert. And then in here, once that is done, we're then going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is going to make for us the aluminum widget. All right, again, a little while later, I've gone ahead and run the standard redstone conduits here. I've upgraded these. They now have the redstone upgrades in them, each one of them. And I've also used just one redstone conduit in the middle, using the same trick we did previously over on one of these. I think it's this one here, where we have one channel set to green, and one set to red and red. So we can use one cable to do both redstone powers. And then over here, we just need to set these to always active and always active. That should move a gear and the wire over. It looks like we're just missing like one more batch of wires. So if I do that, that should go ahead and move the aluminum wire over, send it straight to here, at which point we should get our first aluminum widget. And then at that point, we're basically good to go. We've already got 32 redstone engineering blocks in here. Again, I think the number that we actually needed was 64. Let me check the crafting calculator, though. It was, if we go here, 32. 32 was correct. So this tells you the base ingredients. This kind of tells you the steps involved, like a bunch of the other parts as well. And then this tells you the machines that you need. So here, 32 redstone engineering blocks is perfect. We do need 32 flux electrum, and then we need, obviously, all of the rest of the stuff as well. So this is done. It's made the first aluminum widget. All we have to do with that is just run an item conduit round and into the researcher like this. Again, as per usual, no connection there. You insert and you extract, always active. And so this should now be ready to make, if we set this to output like that, and of course this to input, that should start making our first piece very, very slowly, but it should start making our first piece of production research. Now, I do think that it is going to be in our best interest here if we want to get 32 production research in any kind of reasonable period of time. I think it's going to be worth doing this. I think I might have just wasted a little bit of aluminum and flux electrum, but if we do this and this, as I mentioned before, I think that's going to give us a problem. That problem is going to be power. Now, in order for this to work fully, there are a few things we need to do. I have put down some item conduits here. We're going to set all of these to insert, and I'm going to use the white channel for aluminum. And so just like we did before with iron and copper, we're going to run this. I don't know why I went this way to white. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned it, but you can left-click to go one way and then right-click to go back. So getting to white is easiest from green if you just click back a few times. Anyway, we're going to run this down along. Obviously, we've already got our main channel. That goes over to here. We are going to intercept that channel and just run it up and connect it to our drawer, like this. We can then go ahead and make sure that that is set to extract on white and always active, and that should begin sending the aluminum round to these metal presses. And it's going to start making them, they're going to start backing up. It's possible that doing it this way, we might have to get more aluminum and process it, because of course the setup here isn't going to make the perfect amount of rods, the perfect amount of wire and the perfect amount of gears. It's just going to make an equal number of all of them, which is not necessarily ideal. We also do want to make sure that we take like a stack of aluminum. And actually, I guess, you know what, we can probably just actually set this up properly from the beginning. If I get some more item conduits here, we do, of course, need to send some aluminum straight around to here for this. So let me quickly dig under the metal press here and get yet another one of these connected up. There we go. This one, insert on white. That should take aluminum straight from the drawer. And of course, this wire is going to feed it that aluminum straight away. Fantastic. And so, yeah, I think now this is almost good to go. The only thing here that's not good to go is flux electrum. Of course, we've not automated redstone engineering blocks. We can't really do that until we get iron and copper back online. And for that, we're going to need more pulverizers and redstone furnaces, which is the plan. I do intend to kind of extend this out and have multiple processing lines for each different primary resource. But what I'm going to do real quick is go and grab some gold and silver. Right now, we have a little bit of gold ore and quite a bit of silver ore, actually. I think we've got even more gold ore sitting in this chest over here. Right at the end of the last episode, we did put down another drill here that, yeah, has been mining even more gold. Let me quickly just top up that drill there to fully get all of the gold that we need. And what we can do for the time being is we can kind of just hijack this setup for processing silver and gold, again, just to make sure that we maximize the efficiency. And then we can take all that gold and silver, throw it into our alloy kilns, and then from there we can take the ingots out of the alloy kilns and drop them into our fluid transposer over here to get the flux electro ingots required to make the production research. And then from there, hopefully, it won't take us too long to get 32 production research. Okay, so we finally run into the problem here, and that, of course, is that we put down these 2 speed upgrades, and so now the 1 wire connector that we have here isn't enough. I'm hopeful that if I do this and connect that up to 1 more wire, that hopefully this will be enough power. It looks like it's not, though. I do assume that this is running. No, it's not running at all, not enough energy. It might even be one of those situations where if you don't have enough energy, it just resets. See, at this point, it could also just be the fact that we're maybe not producing enough power to run out everything, because we've got a lot of stuff going, plus trying to send, 200 RF per tick over here is probably a bit too much to ask. What we could do as a temporary measure is maybe this. Yeah, I think that works. And then if I did something along the lines of this, I'm wondering, just to see if it is actually a power problem, let me make a few more of these. Can I run from here to here, and then from here up to here? And is that enough? The answer is maybe. Still not enough. Okay. I'm assuming that over here, these do have power in them still. They do indeed. And so it could be the case that maybe it's using more than 200 redstone flux per tick. Let me try a third one. It seems unlikely to me that that's the situation, but it could be the case. And so real quick, let's get another 2 of these. This is getting really janky now. But if I did this to here and then this to here, that's still not enough, eh? Okay, potentially here, as another temporary measure, what we could do, we could break this. We could put another LV conduit here, and then we could go and steal these solar panels, because together these are an extra 160 redstone flux. And so I'm hopeful that that, along with the LV wires, might be enough to get us there. People are pointing out that what we're probably doing here is we're probably just saturating how much energy the LV wire network can carry. So it's 100 per connection, but it's 800 total. And with everything else that's going on here, we're probably just hitting that 800 redstone flux per tick point. So no matter how many we put on here, if it's all just LV wires that are all connected together, which all of these are, it's not going to work. So if we do this and start putting these down, these do all connect together, and so I'm pretty sure that you can just pull all of the power out of that one center panel. And is that good enough? That does appear to be good enough. Power is going up, and so over here, this is progressing nice, and it's going up a lot faster than it was previously thanks to those speed upgrades. So that's obviously a very temporary solution. That's not something that's going to work in the long run. Again, we should get another compacting drawer here, actually, to make sure that we can compact all of this down. People in the YouTube comments did point out that the 2x2 drawers are the cheapest option for compacting drawers, so I'll go ahead and make one of those, drop that down here, get the item conduit down, of course, right about there, make sure that's set to extract always active, and insert, and as soon as we get our first production research, it's going to go into there. Nice. Okay, cool. So now we're basically going to leave this to do its thing. Again, I might have to put a little bit more aluminum in here. You'll notice we're already completely out of aluminum ore, so let me get like another half stack and get that processing, just because, again, some of the extras are going to be set waiting in, gear form or whatever or rod form. So we'll put those in, we'll let those chug away. We do have more electrum being smelted, we can move that over as well. Basically though, whilst we wait for the 32 production research that we need here to come in, I'm going to go ahead and craft up some more pulverizers, some more redstone furnaces, some more flux anodizers, and we're going to try and get a 3x on this setup here. So we have one for aluminum, one for iron, and one for copper. All right, so quite a while later, our research is underway. We currently have 20 of the 32 production research that we need, but all of the stuff is still chugging away, so it's just a matter of waiting for this to do its thing. Over here, I did some quick maths using the width of this platform, and I figured out that if we want to future-proof, that we can do 6 ore processing chains here. The spacing here leaves enough space for us to put a full 5x5 arc furnace behind each one of these. So there's basically a 5-wide gap behind this and then a 5-wide gap behind this, and we can kind of fit all of that stuff in the future should we need to. And basically, what I've gone ahead and done, I've made a few more redstone furnaces. We have one here, here, and here, and I've also made more pulverizers as well. Mostly I've torn the pulverizers that we already had inside out of the room here and place them down, but we ended up making one more as well in here. And my thought process currently is that we're going to set up one processing chain for aluminum, one for iron, one for copper, and then for the time being, this one over here is just going to be like a general purpose processing chain. And so for the moment, what I might do is I might just move this drawer out of the way and just drop down like a regular chest. That way, if we ever want to process some gold or some lead or some silver or whatever it is, we can just whack that in like this, and that's going to get processed, smelted, and placed into this chest. And so we can then, use that as a general purpose processing line, at least until we need it, at which point we can always, replace it with like lead or something whenever that time arises. But for the time being, now that we have at least 16 of this blue research, what we should be able to do is take that out, take out the red research, take out the green research, and we should be able to actually unlock the induction smelter. For that, 16 blue, 32 red, and then we need 12 8x green. So let's actually put this back and let's take out 61 8x green and hand in 12 of those. Fantastic. That unlocks the induction smelter itself, and so we can actually start working on making those for the lineup. As I mentioned at the start of the episode, we can't actually use the induction smelter to process ores until we unlock this quest right here. So we can tick this off, that's fine, but then we need to hand in another 16 production research. So I'm pretty sure that we do have enough green and red to make this happen. Again, it is 8x green, so let's do this and this. Fantastic. We're just waiting now on the 16 blue. Currently we have 7. Again, it's on its way. This is working slowly but surely to make that happen. But in the meantime, whilst we wait for the remaining blue to come in, we can in fact go ahead and make the induction smelters and place them all down ready for when the processing is going to be doable. So I did make all of the machine frames required here. We were kind of thinking a bit ahead about how many induction smelters we were going to need. And so now it's just a case of getting more copper gears, which we have, more redstone reception coils, which are easy enough to make if you have the gold, which we do not. I can smelt 1 gold here, although at the moment, none of these thermal expansion machines, apart from the first tier, have the augments in them. So at the minute, we're only going to get 1 gold from that, but that's actually completely fine because we only need 1 gold to make that last 4th coil. And so now, I think really, yeah, the only thing we're missing is 4 Invar gears, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Fantastic. And that should be, I think, everything for 4 induction smelters. It is perfect. So we can put these down here, and what I'll do now, I guess, is, again, whilst we wait for the last, 6 or 7 blue research to come in, 8, the last 8 blue research to come in, we can go ahead and make some hardened upgrade kits and all of the required augments to allow us to get all of this running smoothly once we are actually allowed to use the induction smelter for ore processing. And finally, not too long later, we have the other 16 production research. Let's hand that in. Whilst we were waiting for that, I did upgrade all of my redstone furnaces here with the flux anodizers, so they are ready to do their duplicating. And now, if we take a look at the copper ore here, for example, we should see that we can now place it into an induction smelter. And the only tricky part about this now is that in order to get the doubling effect, we do need rich slag. Rich slag is required in order to get the doubling effect. So unlike with the pulverizer, where you can just put it in and you get 2.5x, and then the redstone furnace, you just get the 2x, if we want to get the 10x benefit here, we need to be able to automatically produce the rich slag because we have to put the copper ore into, and all of the ores, by the way, into an induction smelter with rich slag. You can also do it with cinnabar. Cinnabar is probably going to be harder for us to get, the harder for us to automate at least. Because to get cinnabar automated, we basically first have to automate rich slag, and then we have to add jellied cryothium to it. We're not yet at the point where we can get that because we've not gotten in to the deep mob learning section of the quest line up here. You'll see the jellied cryothium is down here. But we should be able, I think, to potentially look at automating rich slag. For then, we can take the regular slag, which we're getting, by the way, automatically from our steel production. So as long as we continue to produce steel, which we should do, we should keep getting it. And over here, we've got 900, another 800, and another 700. The reason those numbers are different is because I occasionally come and just take some slag for the making of clay. But we need to take that slag and we need to infuse it with lava. And if we want to get lava automated, that's where I think we need the magma crucible and the pyroconvective loop. The pyroconvective loop here is going to let us turn things like stone and cobblestone directly into lava. So we can use our cobblestone generator, produce cobblestone, turn that into lava, and then the pyroconductive loop here greatly increases lava production speed, and I think also potentially greatly increases the cost as well. So the loop itself is not too difficult to make. We need another invar gear, which we can make. We need another conductance coil, which we can also make. Another piston is fine, and then the nether brick is doable if we run the chain back. I don't know how far back we do have to go with this, but I think we might have a coke brick. We do indeed. Let's do that, and then let's craft you like that. We're missing just a little bit, so we have to run it basically all the way back here by the looks of it. Give me some more coke brick. Craft that coke brick into blast brick. Craft that blast brick into nether brick, and then craft that nether brick into nether brick. And then boom, that gets us the loop. And then the loop itself goes inside of the magma crucible. So we do already have a magma crucible, but of course that one is going to be used in the automation of tier 3 research. And so we want to make sure that we get a fresh one of these for lava production. All right, a little bit of nether brick crafting later. We've got another magma crucible. So this can go down really anywhere for the time being. And we can put this in. I think the power is going to be a problem here. Right now, this uses 40 RF per tick. With the loop here, it goes up to 400 redstone flux per tick. And while this can now technically turn cobblestone into lava, I don't know if we currently have the power to do it at any kind of reasonable speed. Let me take a look, though, here. If I put a cobblestone in here like that, you'll see that even though it is using 400 redstone flux per tick, it is still quite slow. And the way this works here, we do get 4 rich slag for every bucket, but we need 1 rich slag per ore that we process. Which means this might be doable, you know. Let me see about getting a hardened upgrade kit here. That is going to require some more bronze, but we do have bronze. And so if I do this, that of course is going to take it up to a maximum of 800 RF per tick. Right now, we don't have 800 redstone flux per tick being generated, nor can we move that much via the conduits. One thing we can do is we can do this and or this, because the conduits work on the number of faces, so each face can deliver 500 max. So with all 3 of those down, we are doing 800, but all of these you'll see are losing power, because in total here I think we can produce about 640 redstone flux per tick, and that's if all of these are getting enough steam, which I don't think they are, but this is pretty fast. It's not super fast, but it also doesn't need to be super fast, because each bucket of lava can process 4 ores, and each one of those ores turns into 10 ingots. And so basically every time this finishes, we get enough lava to process 40 ingots worth of resources. And so this might be okay. Going forward, we can make even higher tier upgrade kits. I don't think I've unlocked those yet, but you'll see it's right here. If we go down here, this is the next tier, is the reinforced upgrade kit. If we can get the reinforced upgrade kit, that's going to allow us to make these even faster and put in even more augments. Of course, we can make the auxiliary reception coils, and we can use that to make this even faster. Again, it's going to use even more power, 1,600 RF per tick, which is doable, I think. With 3 conduits, it's capable of receiving 1,500 redstone flux per tick. And what I was trying to say earlier, by the way, the conduits themselves can move an unlimited amount of power. So there's no limit to how much power can run through these conduits. They can only insert and extract 500 redstone flux per tick. So if you have a machine here that produces say 1,000 redstone flux per tick, and you have a machine here that can use 1,000 redstone flux per tick, if you just do this, only 500 redstone flux per tick will be moved. But if you do this and this, over here, this conduit and this conduit will both suck 500 out, and over here, this conduit and this conduit will both give 500 in. So you can move as much power as you like, it's just the connections can only do 500. So kind of similar to the way that the wires work, but the wires do have a limit on how much they can move, and that's 800 total, but only 100 at each connection point, if that makes sense. So I think what we want to do then next time is probably come back and look at upgrading our power system. We can do that by putting down more of these dynamos with the boiler augments. We can potentially get better fluid pumping. This fluid pump might be good enough. I actually don't know how fast it's pumping, so we'll make more boiler dynamos. We'll see if the pump can keep up. If it can't, we can upgrade that. If it can, we can then make more of the turbine dynamos, upgrade those to get even more power out of those, and then hook all those up. I think that will be fine for getting this up and running and using it to produce lava at 1,600 redstone flux per tick. We can then take that lava, of course, and use it inside of a fluid transposer. Let me quickly see if we don't have what it takes to make another fluid transposer. I think we should, because I think we're pretty good on almost all of the items to make the machine frame there. Do we have everything else? Yeah, basically. We need one more reception coil. That's fine. So we just need, I think, 2 more steel plates. I'm going to go ahead and craft, I think, just the remainder of the steel that we have here into steel plates. And as per usual, we are out of engineer's hammers. That's fine. Let's do this and this. Let's grab a little bit of copper, although I think there might still be some over here. Of course there isn't. That would be too easy. Let's instead grab some from here, drop that in, and see if we can't get our first 10x processing going. It's not going to be automated. Again, we're going to need more power in order to get that automation going, but I think we can 10x process at least one ore today. So let's do this. That fluid transposer for now can go down somewhere over here. We'll probably end up moving this at some point for automation purposes, but we'll set the bottom to input, and we'll make sure that hue are also set to output at the top, and we'll put auto input on. That's going to pull the lava in. Then we just need a little bit of slag out of the system. The slag is renewable, by the way, so you get infinite slag. Like, it takes 1 slag to make a rich slag, but then when you use that rich slag, you are 100% guaranteed to get it back when you process the ore. So we actually don't need that much slag. We don't need a continuous supply of it. Like I said earlier, you can just use it once, and it's good to go. This hopefully doesn't take too much redstone flux. This takes 2,000. For reference, by the way, the cobblestone to lava recipe takes 300,000, so it's a much, much slower recipe. But there's the rich slag, fantastic. And so now, if we were to put that in here, and we were to go ahead and put in some more aluminum ore, which we should have down in our drawer around here. Again, eventually, the plan is to automatically start taking the aluminum from this drawer here and pumping it up and around into its respective induction smelter. But for now, if we go and place this in manually, we should see 1 piece of aluminum get turned into 10 aluminum ingots. So we'll do this. Right now, this is not connected up, by the way, to the processing line, so the aluminum is just sitting here, but that should get processed through. We got 236. Do we get 246? It's not guaranteed to be 10x. Maybe? Well, it should be, right? 236. And there we go, 246. And it wasn't that slow either. It didn't take too long. So we do have to cycle the slag out here. We'll have to take it out and pump it back into here. But that's fine. I'm going to take this out as well so we don't, make too much of it. But I think we're onto something here. The people in the Twitch chat did point out there are other ways of doing this. For example, if you don't have enough power to make the slag here, to make the lava for the slag, what you can do is you can use a loop with something like a compass. So if you put a compass into an induction smelter with sand, you have a 1 in 5 chance of getting rich slag. You do also get 4 iron back, which is all of the iron required to make the compass. And so essentially here you can spend 1 sand and 1 redstone for a 1 in 5 chance to get slag. Sand, of course, we can generate an unlimited amount of, and so that's not a problem. The only trouble is right now we don't have unlimited redstone. Unlimited redstone is something we are going to be able to get once we get into deep mob learning, but I don't think this is the way to go. I think this is a way to go. You could do it, but I think for us, it's going to be just better to try and expand our power infrastructure and see if we can automate this cobblestone to lava setup, and then use that to loop the slag in and out of these induction smelters and give us that 10x ore processing that we want, and that's going to allow us to push forward with research. Speaking of research, obviously this needs power as well. We're going to have to move these solar panels back onto our iron drill when we move the iron drill to a new location, because we don't actually have that much iron ore, and once we get this back online, we're going to start running out of iron very quickly. It's all going to get turned into steel and into research, which is what we want, but we also want to make more iron ore as well. So we're going to have to move those solar panels, which means they also need more power. So we're going to have to probably set up a lot more of these dynamos, and we're probably going to have to look at upgrading our LV network here to an MV network so we can actually start to move more power around the base using these guys here without having to run these conduits everywhere, which we could do, but would be just very expensive and very time consuming. And on top of that, I think at some point in the fairly near future, we're going to have to look at increasing the number of researchers we have. Right now, we have one for green research, one for red research, and one for blue research. But if we're going to push forward and start to get some of the really high amounts of research required for some of these unlocks here, we're going to need a lot of green, especially, and a fair bit of red, and then a little bit of blue. And so we probably want to look at moving this setup a little bit and seeing if we can't get, like 5 or 10 researchers working on green, maybe 5 or 3 or something working on red, and then maybe a couple working on blue as well. So we want to kind of move this, expand that out, and do something similar to what we've done here, where we've moved and expanded out our ore processing with room for even more expansion in the future. But those are all problems for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Feed the Factory there.